The Unity Fountain in Abuja is the venue for the takeoff of the protest, and members of the organized labor converge one after the other as early as 7 in the morning. The president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, arrives in company of other labor leaders and immediately addresses the crowd.
Let us ask him, how much is his salary per month? That Datti. How much is he earning? We are told, and nobody have controverted this fact, they are collecting 13 million per month. How can he, in his right senses, now say that 30,000, the current minimum wage, is too much for Nigerian workers? Can we say shame to him? Shame! Certainly Nigerian workers are not happy. He must withdraw that bill with immediate effect.
From there, the protesters marched through the street of Abuja, carrying placards with different inscriptions that express their concerns. They arrived at the gate of the National Assembly and forcefully pushed their way through the gate, defying all attempts by security personnel to stop them. The Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate meets the protesters halfway and tried to engage them, but they will not yield, insisting they must get to the assembly complex. In front of the complex, the NLC and TUC presidents reiterate their concerns as they present the letter of their protest to representatives of both the Senate and the House of Representatives, who assure them that their grievances will be addressed.
We will stand by you to ensure that the fundamental right of every worker is not only enforced, but is ensured and guaranteed. The only justice that bill is to kill the bill.
With those words of assurance, the protesters disperse one after the other, but the NLC says it's not going to sleep unless the matter is laid to rest.
The big question that is on the mind of many Nigerians is how soon would we begin to see the implementation of the national minimum wage, especially in many of the states where payment of the minimum wage is still a big issue. From the National Assembly, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Okay, welcome back. Well, as you've seen there, that's what we're discussing now. This labor controversy over the minimum wage, and you've seen the protests yesterday. Well, those gentlemen join us from our studios in Abuja. Honorable Datti Muhammad, member of the APC representing Sabongeri Federal Constituency in Kaduna State and a member of the APC, as well as Comrade Amechi Asuguni, Deputy President of NLC. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us today on the program.
Good morning.
All right. Honorable, let's start with you. You heard the backlash concerning this bill, which you sponsored on the floor of the House. What was, having seen and heard how Labour responding to this nationwide, what do you think now?
Well, I think the issue has even gone beyond me. It's an issue of the National Assembly, because this bill was passed has passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. If you could recall, the day I presented the bill, there was a robust debate from both who are against and those who are in support of the bill. You could see that more than 85% of the people who contributed were for the bill. It's just less than 15% of those who contributed that are against the bill, and it was voted for. So it has gone beyond me now. The National Assembly has a process that you can attend to this bill. If Labour has problem with the bill, they should wait for public hearing. They will be invited and other stakeholders. So I think all of us, both the Labour and the National Assembly, we are working on the same page to see how we can solve this teething problem that has been with us for quite a long time. We cannot pretend that there is no problem on the issue of minimum wage. While the federal government is paying, most of the state governments cannot pay and are not paying, and there is no consequences and no penalty for not paying. And instead of going through the back door to renegotiate after agreeing, why not we just amend it, remove it from the exclusive legislative list and return it to the concurrent list? I think the most civilized way to approach this is for dialogue, for constructive engagement, not based on threat, intimidation, name-calling, smear campaign. I think it will not help us as a nation. All of us are looking for ways to solve these issues that has been with us for quite a long time.
In other words, notwithstanding the protest, you've got no regrets about the bill till date.
Yeah, the most important thing that we have triggered a national discourse. If you can see, if you have been reading newspaper and other online, there are people that have come out strongly, some even leading newspaper with strong editorial to support our position. Even some leading legal luminaries, apart from coming out openly, some have called me personally to show their solidarity. So this is an issue where you have people who are in support and people who are against. So when we will be having the public hearing, both sides will come and present their own case. And I don't think if the Labour comes with a superior argument, nothing prevents the House from throwing away the bill. But as it is now, they have the chance, and any other person who is a stakeholder in this issue has the chance to come and make his own presentation during the public hearing.
Comrade Asoguni, it appears protest may not cut this, perhaps from what he's saying.
I think, good morning once again. The issue of removing minimum wage from exclusive list is not a recent struggle. It is not just this Night Assembly. There were other attempts in the past, and it never scaled through because at first, if you are not well and properly educated on why labor issues must be prioritized to remain a national law, you may be missing it. You know, we have said it time and over that issue of wage is a prioritized scheme in such a way that we are looking at governors. Somebody has to look at the private sectors. Somebody has to look at the informal sectors, where you miss to retain a national law that will make a minimum wage compulsory for every employer. In that case, there will be anarchy because, as a matter of fact, you will automatically be removing the right of workers to collective bargaining. And when you say states should pay as they want or ability to pay, the question is, no one has said states should not pay higher. No one has said, we are only saying the minimum wage is a benchmark and states are obliged to pay higher. So for me and for Labour, this struggle is not a test. This struggle is not a matter of trying effort. is something that Labour will leave no stone unturned. And they know yesterday was just a visit to National Assembly. Anything otherwise will affect the nation strongly, because Labour is resolute. We are not even going back to organ to seek mandate. An automatic mandate has been given to engage in national strike, starting from National Assembly if they fail to do the needful. And you know, we have also gotten a robust response from a majority of the House as we speak. Probably our brother Honorable may be talking from the point of the day the motion was moved, but as at today, we have a very long list of members who have vowed to see to it that this thing does not shave Nigerians' workers' head on their behalf. So and as a matter of fact, it is something that it will be against the people. When you talk about Nigerian workers, the people are looking at it as if it's a segment of people. Nigerian workers are the Nigerian. They are the people that are working to see to it. It doesn't matter the program of government. Without the workers, you cannot excel. So we're talking about the right of workers to earn wage.
Yeah, comrade. So does it mean that Labour will not be going to the public hearing? Do you want the bill dropped outright?
No. Whatever engagement that is required to enable the bill thrown out will be followed. Labour will be abiding by rules. But I'm telling you that those engagements is to allow the processes that will knock it out, because we are not just, it's not a contest of power here. It's a matter of we must not do what is wrong. Every nation strives to retain laws that will bring sanity, laws that will bring decent work. If you do anything otherwise, then we are going back. Don't forget, this is a practice that has been in place for over 40 years. So any governor or governors that have been listed that are sponsoring this move, whatever they think they are using as an incentive, they should consider it loss, because such incentive can never stand the test of time, because Labour will do everything possible to expose the procedures. For me and for Labour, we are not going to let it be, because we are talking about human rights. We are talking about activities that will retain confidence of workers. We are talking about earning productivities. When you talk about removing wage from exclusive leads, it becomes a threat to even the unemployed. It becomes a threat to the entire sectors. Because assuming they are saying that 30,000 is now a big money to be considered minimum, then Nigerians will ask why. And from your own end, how much do you think that can take a family through a month? Because the question of how much do they earn, each time we ask that question, it looks as if you want to expose people's wage. But we're talking about whoever you are in this country. Economy is for everybody, and the schools are meant for everybody. Markets are meant for everybody. And when inflation comes, it does not choose the minimum wage categories to actually create the hazard. For us, a national minimum wage is a plus, is part of democratic achievement that this nation has secured, and we cannot do anything that will jeopardize already achieved instrument that will better the welfare of Nigerians. Anything contrary, and I was thinking by now, our brother, the information we had yesterday was that they were already looking at the point Labour is raising to actually supersede the earlier reasons given. But if by now they are still insisting, or our friend here is still saying he has supporters in the House, then we are going to draw a line.
Just quickly, when you say you have a majority of lawmakers behind you who are supporting your own side, just how many do you have?
No, when I say majority, you should expect that we are talking about over 50%. So I'm not counting names here, because it's a matter of interest. It's a matter of we're talking about the integrity of Nigeria. It shouldn't be heard. We're talking about global standard here. You know, when people localize, the inability of some governors to pay wage has nothing to do with doing what is lawful. We're talking about obligation.
Now. Just a moment. Let's take this back to Honorable Mohammed.
And there's no...
We'll get to that, because I know that's a major part of this conversation. But just to bounce off some of the issues you raised of Honorable, Now, Honorable, in the process of coming up with this bill, did you have any input, any recommendation, contribution from any governor?
No. As a lawmaker, I'm at liberty to make research on any other issue, particularly the issues that affect the country from my own perspective, from what I understand from the research I made. And apart from that, you could remember there was agitation all over the country that this present government should adopt the confirmed report of Jonathan's administration. And the government said, no, we will now have our own committee on restructuring and devolution of power, which was constituted by the APC government with some governors, with some members of National Assembly, with representation from the party, and they came out with strong resolutions on these issues. And it was brought before the NEC of the party, which I happen to be a member of that NEC, and it was ratified by the NEC. So as a member of NEC, as member of National Assembly, I have the right to bring it to the for national discourse and to bring it in form of bill, and that's exactly what we did.
When you hear allegations, for example, take the Ekiti State TUC chairman saying that this infamous bill is part of plots to exterminate Nigerian workers by APC governors. So the belief out there is that there are governors behind this bill. So when you hear such, what's your response?
Well, the NLC, in their own tradition, it has always been part of the way they treat issues. I don't know. I'm happy that my comrade is here. We are involving ourselves we are engaging in constructive engagement. But traditionally, what they do, I've seen it in the social media, a lot of abuses, a lot of intimidation, a lot of insult coming to me for just doing what I'm supposed to do as a lawmaker. So such allegations are unfounded, and as they have no basis. I know they will make more of that, but that will not change anything. And the labor as an institution and a law-abiding institution, we have in the National Assembly, we have our own processes and procedures. And there is no way the National Assembly can jettison its own processes. The labor has to subject itself to come for public hearing, and other stakeholders that have interest, whether you are for or against. It has gone beyond me. It's not my issue. I'm not the one to withdraw it. When you come and you bring convincing reasons, and people that were there have seen it, then, and as I'm telling you now, while I'm on my way here, I've received also call from some civil society organizations who are in support of the bill that are coming to see me. So it's a national discourse. We have brought this to national attention now. It doesn't matter. My comrade is here. All of us, our approaches may be different, but the most important thing, we are looking for ways on which to develop our country and move forward. And these are some of the things you may agree and disagree from time to time. But at the end of the day, when we sit with them, we look at the areas of interest and how are we going to move forward. We cannot pretend that some of these states and local governments cannot pay this amount, and they are not paying. And right. Laws, as we said, laws are made to be implemented, not just for the sake of making laws. Then you make laws that are not implementable, and there is no penalty, there is no consequences for it. Then what's the essence of making such laws? That's just the position of this.
Right. But, so, Honorable, just a moment.
The NLC president himself has written a letter to me, which I responded, and I told him, we are not against them, we are not against labor, we are not against workers. But we want something that is practicable, something that is implementable. And we have seen In the past, when it was raised to 18,000, the price of oil at that time was around $150 per barrel. Even when this minimum was raised to 30, there was bailout that is being given to some states. Then later, the bailout is not there. The reality on ground is that most of the states cannot pay. And the NLC, I know the area of concern of the NLC. The NLC, as a labor, the door is not shut for them to go and negotiate with each of these states based on the resources available to the state. And they have their own conventions, the law of International Labour Organization, which they use it as the base.
There are quite a number of issues to raise.
That's just
right, no problem. There are quite a number of issues to raise. So, Comrade Asoguni, I haven't heard Honorable Mohammed saying that, well, there is no governor behind this bill. Does that maybe persuade you and to think maybe, okay, maybe this is in good stead?
I think, you know, this very matter, if I were him, I would be very smart to know where to quit in a struggle that will eventually terminate agendas of politics. Because the question is, whose interests are you protecting? When you say governors are not behind you, then whose interests are you protecting? The interests of the masses. Everyone in the National Assembly has a constituency, and the constituency are the composition of workers. There is no way you will come to national television to advocate that 30,000 is not payable. 30,000 is so big for a governor to pay a worker in Nigeria 1,000 naira per day, and the sitting honorable member in the National Assembly will tell Nigerians that he is very convinced that there are some governors that cannot meet up with 30,000 wage. That should let you know that Labour must not delay in ensuring that this matter is not just thrown out, but leaving a symbolic action that will make the National Assembly never to come back to think about something that is injurious to Nigerian system. How can we now then say, if you are already quarreling with 30,000 as a wage, it suggests to you that the fear and concern of Labour is genuine. Now, if governors hear that 30,000 is not payable, rather than advocating to make a law that is punishable, should any governor refuse to implement a national minimum wage law, you should be advocating a law against offenders who refuse to pay. Because no state, there is no state in Nigeria that cannot afford 30,000 as a wage. None of their personal assistants, none of their staff, none of their cooks receive 30,000. So there is no way you consider people to be ordinary and then you become unique when it concerns wage. It's unacceptable, and Labour, as a matter of fact, should engage deeply in this matter, starting from the constituency where this matter is actually coming from. Because it's not a threat, it's a life issue that Nigerians are seeing it, and the letter we saw from him suggests to me that there is an alternative to have a rethink in the matter. But from what I'm hearing now, I think I should report back to the House that the struggle we say in this matter must continue. Like I said, it's not a threat. We never threatened. Our engagement has always been defend Nigerian workers when the need arises. And there is no other need than the need to defend their welfare. In fact,
comrade, just one moment, comrade. Let's make this a little more robust. Yes, let's make this a little more robust. Over and over again, Labour has said that we don't want to go back to a battle that we won 40 years ago. 40 years ago, exactly 40 years ago, will be 1981. And at that time, it was a civilian government in power. So I'm wondering, was it during that civilian government that Labour won this moving legislation of minimum wage from the concurrent list to the exclusive list, or was it during the government of the military that came afterwards?
Thank God you just answered it, and that was exactly the time Labour engagement started fully in Nigeria.
Which one of it? Was it during the military government or the civilian government of the day? Okay. Now, another question a number of people would want to pose to you would be, how come Labour on one hand is saying, let's go full throttle federalism. Yet we want this issue of minimum wage centralized. If we centralize this one, we can as well centralize some other issues. How do you respond to them?
Yeah, of course, you've answered it, because the question is, in centralizing issues, we talk about priorities, issues that requires national interest. Issues that are of national interest must be retained in the exclusive list. You cannot talk about wage. And let me also tell you openly today again, we have been saying it. If it was necessary to have state assemblies all over Nigeria to earn the same salary, it was necessary to have councillors all over Nigerians to earn the same salaries, governors receive the same salaries in this country, there is no issue of ability to pay. Then when it comes to Nigerian workers who ordinarily have no voice other than the law that has been made 30,000 compulsory, if you remove this, then how fair are you to Nigerian workers?
All right, comrades, we need to wind down now.
A minimum wage matter must be central and should remain in that exclusive list.
Honorable Muhammad, let's quickly get your concluding thoughts, because part of what the argument there is, governors earn the same thing. How come they are able to afford that, which is, they say, is huge that they earn? And by the way, when they were all campaigning, they said they could do this job and pay this minimum wage, quite a number of them. So if they can't, why don't they just throw in the towel?
Yes, I'm happy you are coming from that angle. We are in a democracy. This can be a campaign issue, and any governor that make promise to the Labour should pin him down during the campaign and let him make a commitment, so that not after, then when you bring the issue, they will tell you that they don't have money to pay and there is nothing you can do about it. So this is exactly what we are saying, and the contradiction that, as you rightly brought out, you cannot be advocating for true federalism in one hand, then in another hand saying, no, let's go back to centralized system of government. We are devolving power to constituent states, and the reality is there on ground. My friend, my comrade, he knows about it.
Honorable, sorry to jump in, but just before we go,
about the issue,
could you tell us, Honorable, whose interest are you protecting then, if you say governors are not behind you?
We are protecting the interests of the system, because the system is not working. We cannot pretend that there is no problem, that some state are not paying the minimum wage. At the end of the day, it's the same labor that after negotiating and agreeing at the national level, they will go back to the states through the back door, that as it's happened in Kano. They went there to renegotiate. They are going to other states in Nasarawa and other places. What we are saying, this thing can be resolved. The Labour can go and negotiate on behalf of workers in each state, pending on the resources and the economy of that state. That's just what we are saying. We are not saying that the Labour should be decentralized. The Labour should be there, but they should be fighting for the workers based on the resources of that state. Because those who are not paying now, there is no consequences, no penalty, and there is nothing Labour can do about it. That's just what we are saying. And when Labour is negotiating, Labour has the International Labour Organization.
We need to run on this one. I understand, besides, Comrade equally needs to dash out. But, Comrade, if you could just do this in 10 seconds, if possible, did Kano Labour go back to the government to renegotiate, as he just said?
Nothing like that. Can you reverse the law? When a national minimum wage has been enacted as 30,000, can any governor reverse it? Can NLC reverse it? Not in discussions at state level and modalities to enable them pay the wage. Modalities on how to secure their arrears. Modalities on how to get this wage paid without delay. Those are the engagement state at their level enters with their governor.
All right, gentlemen.
Law. And that is why we should be looking at the penalty and not to subvert the system.
All right, we need to go. We thank you both, Honorable Gaba Datti Muhammad, member, APC, representing Sabongeri Federal Constituency, the mover of the motion, as well as Comrade Amechi Asuguni, Deputy President of Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you both for coming on this morning. We're back in a moment. Join us again.